beautiful song. I think it's the first time I'm listening to it. I won't be that current. Oh, thank you, John. Thank you, thank you. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Just enjoy this music before we start. Time to dance. What's her name? Becca. Becca. B-E-double-C. Okay. Hello, hello, good morning everyone. Good morning, wonderfully made women. Good morning, wonderfully made men. How are you today? It's so good to be back on this show. I'm so excited this morning to be back on Wonderfully Made Woman Talk Show. How are you today? It's Friday. We're happy the weekend is coming now to rest, if we actually rest. But we thank God that we are alive today. This is Wonderfully Made Woman Talk Show on WMTV. The essence of this show is to address issues relating to women in a holistic context. This show is for every woman, every girl, every boy, every man. So if you're a man, you were born of a woman, or you're a man who is interested in womanhood. If you have a wife, you have a daughter, you have a sister, then this show is for you. Thank you once again for tuning into our talk show. If you want to participate on this show, the number to call is 0161 672 2105. I repeat, 0161 672 2105. Just before we start today's topic, my name is Ahina and I remain your host. I want to quickly talk about the work that we do at Wonderfully Made Woman. Wonderfully Made Woman is a registered charity in England and Wales, helping women and girls to build their confidence. We started in 2011 and we're still going stronger, and we have faith projects and community projects because it's a Christian charity, as most of you know. So we do quite a few faith projects, like Easter is coming, so we'll be doing outreach, Easter party, reaching out to women who are lonely, women who are widows, women who are single mothers, or even the married ones, married but living single women. We do Christmas outreach as well. We have Affairs of the Heart, where we address issues and help rekindle relationship. We also have community projects ranging from domestic violence awareness session, confidence building, FGM, hate crime, radical, our weekly dance session, and of course the talk show. Recently in 2016, Wonderfully Made Woman became a partner of the Manchester Mayo Project, which is a project that has 8 organizations, and we're part of those 8 organizations. And the aim is to help BME women and girls living in Manchester. So we provide holistic support for Black, Africans, Asian, minority, ethnic women and girls living in Manchester. And recently we started a project which is so dear to my heart because it's related to why we're here today, which is Women's Stories for Change. Women's Stories for Change is a project funded by the Big Lottery to capture experiences of women in Manchester. Women's Stories for Change project aims to empower women and girls with storytelling and media skills through weekly sessions. So this project will enable participants understand the world of social media and how they can use it effectively. So social media is everywhere. What do you do with your smartphone? This project is going to be capturing those experiences, telling our stories, and also helping women and girls, make good use of their phone. If you want to be part of that project, you can call us after the talk show. I'm so excited about today. For every other information, you can get it on our website, www.wonderfullymadewoman.org, or you can go on our Facebook, Wonderfully Made Woman. Our Twitter account is @wmadewoman. And you can send us email info@wonderfullymadewoman.org, or if you want to be part of WMTV, you can email wmtv@wonderfullymadewoman.org. So I'll stop there about the charity and get down to today's business. Like I said before, the number to call is 0161 672 2105. The loss of a pregnancy can come as a terrible blow, as well as emotional shock. How do you deal with shock? Depression, grief, guilt, and anger of losing a pregnancy. With me on the show today is a woman who is here to share her story of how she was able to cope after having miscarriages, failed IVF, stillbirth. She's passionate about women and children. She runs a fertility awareness group that supports women living with infertility. Is there really a success story after miscarriages, failed IVFs? Is there a success story? Why don't you sit back, watch till the end as we continue on this show. I'm going to leave our guest to introduce herself properly. So good morning. Can you tell the viewers your name and what you do?
Sorry, I've got a bad.
That's fine.
The snow and all that got on me, so
Yeah.
my voice, sometimes will be a bit cracky. Yeah, my name is Uju Ngolum, Obiano Uju Ngolum. I'm a media practitioner and public relations practitioner as well. Yeah, basically, due to what I've been through, it's been a long journey of infertility and all that. So I also, encourage people, and I run a fertility clinic. Not really like clinic, like support. I'm not a medical practitioner, but more like support. Most times when I talk to people, I tell them to get in touch with their gynaes and stuff like that. What did they say? Encourage them. I get people who come to me through WhatsApp, Facebook and stuff like that and ask, I'm going through this, what do I do? The first thing I say is, what's your doctor saying? I always take it from there. Then I probe further, because when you talk about infertility, there are different reasons that could cause it. So it's only the doctors that can, say what it is. Then, of course, what we do is more emotional support. Yeah, so sometimes, spiritual, maybe prayers and stuff like that. But, it's a long, lonely journey. So,
all right. So
we just help people out.
Okay, that's what she does. Yeah, I'm just going to stop her so she doesn't spill out this success story. You're welcome to the show, UJ. Well, she's popularly known as UJ, so I'm just going to stick with that name for the purpose of this show. You're welcome to our show this morning. And I'm so happy that she's the first person. After we took a break, we had the first episode of my success story series, and we had to take a break to go for training and to do some other projects. So coming back to my success story series, I'm so happy that she's one of our first guests. So thank you so much for taking our time to be here. It wasn't easy. I was actually praying that nothing happens. When you have children, anything can really happen. So I'm so happy that she's here with us today. So UJ, you're here to share your story. Like I said before, losing a pregnancy, having miscarriages and having tried IVF. What is your story? I know as a woman or as a young girl growing up, we used to have this idea or dream of, when I grow up, I'll get married, I'll have 3 children, 4 children, 5 children at the age of maybe 25, 30. Most of us used to always say that. What was your dream when you were growing up as regards to how many children you would love to have and at what age you will have all your children?
It looks like you were in my mind. I was one of those who wanted to have, like 2 boys, 2 girls, the ideal family, and be done with anything that's got to do with childbirth before 30. I had the dreams, to wear the same jeans with my children and stuff like that.
Everyone's dream.
I wanted to, just be that young mother that would, be there for my children, grow up with them, share things with them. Even people who go on my page will see that I play with my kids a lot, but it didn't happen. The first year, the second year, the third year. So,
how long did you have to wait before you had your first child when you got married?
8 years.
8 years? Yes. I didn't know that. Oh my goodness.
So that's why I always
I actually know the second part. Wow, you waited 8 years.
Yes, that's why. 8 years. Yeah, I got married. If you see my wedding picture, I got married. It's quite. I don't know how to say, but Igbos, we have like 2, 3 phases of marriages. Yeah. So I had my traditional wedding in 2001. Which more like officially is what we we count as as wedding for us.
Which I count if you do traditional wedding, you're married.
So I always count from there. I'm a bit traditional. So I got married traditionally on 28 December 2001.
And you had your first child when?
2009.
Wow. This story, oh gosh, it's not even started. I'm becoming emotional because I actually had a miscarriage before my first child. And it was as if the world was going to come to an end. But I didn't wait 8 years. I'm sure I would have died before then. I think we all have grace for certain things. And for between that 8 years, what was your life like as a married woman? As an Igbo woman, what was your life like?
I don't know. I think I'll just say that I'm blessed to have been married to a wonderful family. My in-laws might actually be surprised, to hear me say this, but I do not take their love lightly.
Wow.
My in-laws are the best. When I say the best, I mean the best. I'm not just saying this because of Facebook or whatever. But they allow me be who I am.
Wow.
They never put me under pressure all those while. My husband is the only son. If you know what an only son is to an Igbo man, my husband is the only son of his parents. He's not from a polygamous home, but my in-laws are the exact example of Christianity.
Wow.
Not for once. The only thing is, what are you people doing? What are you people doing? What are you people doing? Do you understand? That's all they just, oh, so what's happening? Not once did they, berate me about waiting, about, my medical condition. And it was obvious that I was the one who had the issue. I had a health condition called PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. So people who have PCOS don't get to ovulate, regularly. So they need to be assisted. So it took a while, before I even knew I had PCOS. But it was, I had a very supporting system. I think that's why I would say, it was easy for me. My in-laws are this kind of people that whatever makes their son happy is what they stick to. If they find out that, oh, they will do this to to scruffle him and make him uncomfortable,
they will let
they just
so
they
you
just
must
let
be one
him.
of the lucky wives then.
Yeah. I am. I'm really lucky when it comes
So
to that.
apart from your in-laws, being supportive, because that's a major problem in an African setting where even some people who have girls, they still have that problem. For you to have stayed for 8 years and your in-laws didn't give you any stress, honestly, you're blessed. You're blessed.
Thank you.
But I want to say, emotionally, leaving your in-laws behind, between you and your husband, I don't know how it is for people who don't have children, but I'm just imagining in those 8 years, you pray and wish that every month you don't see your menses. Then all of a sudden you see it. For 8 years, 12 months in a year, times 8. How did you cope?
The heartbreak, I don't know. I think unfortunately my own PCOS symptom is the absence of period. So I probably would go 3-6 months without one.
Wow.
So some people it's hairs and stuff like that. Some people it's adding weight, but mine was
You mean staying for 6 months without period?
without a period. Yeah, that was my
So
own
without
symptom.
a period, how were you wishing to get pregnant?
Yeah, you see, that's the thing. The only way I could get treated was to put me on contraceptive. Do you understand? So it wasn't working. I sat down one day to write about, document everything I'd gone through. I didn't know that it was PCOS up until I think the 6th or 7th year or something.
Wow.
But you know the Nigerian setting, the African setting, where everybody wants to be a part of your family. They want to show you that they care about what you're going through. So I remember in the early days, I had this neighbor where we used to live then in Lagos. She took me to one, herbal. It wasn't the diabolical whatever, but the roots, the ones who would give roots and stuff like that. I went there. There was one other lady, who I think after 7 years and all that, I followed her to Cotonou.
Wow.
Search
for a child.
Yeah, I've been to so many places,
And in that process, how was your day-to-day life? I think that's what the viewers will want to know, because there are lots of people who are in the situation right now, and they're looking at you and they're like, oh, she could really cope well. She got in-laws, she had a wonderful husband. So they want to know, how did you feel? Because I had to wait for 2 years before my first child, and in that 2 years, honestly, every month was hell for me. Immediately I see my menses, I'm just off. I switch off.
Yeah.
So for 8 years.
Yeah, I wasn't. The thing is, there's a way it is. If you've been on that journey long enough, you live in denial initially. So I think after 2 years or so, it was like, okay, it's not happening. What do we do? Even before I started going on all these things, I became very religious. I would go to church, I would sow seeds, I would fast, I would do everything, and it still wasn't happening. So it wasn't. I didn't even have a professional life. I couldn't even face my career. I was everywhere. I think I had about 1 or 2 instances where I had very heavy bleeding, because that's another thing. When the period comes, it could go on for like 2 weeks, 1 month,
Wow.
and clots and stuff like that. On one particular occasion,
that's a terrible experience.
yeah. On one particular occasion, I had to, they were like, come to so place in the east. I left my work. Then I used to work in a media house. So I took time off. Media it was quite flexible. My producers and other people, could cover it for me. So I took time off, to attend to that particular situation because, continuous bleeding and all that, I didn't know when it was going to stop, So I was the most inconsistent person on earth. Very inconsistent.
I can imagine.
It affected everything, financially, emotionally, physically. The thing about childbirth is it's the most significant, apart from infections that you see on people's body. This is the way I describe it to people. I said infertility is the most physically visual, situation you go through because people are seeing you, okay, she's been married 5 years, 6 years, and no children. They see you wear your ring, you're with your husband, and no children. Do you understand? So it's there. There was a time I was living in an estate where it got so bad that if I need to even zip up my cloth, I have to go to my neighbors to knock.
Because there was nobody.
There was nobody because the nature of my husband, works, is an architect, he's into construction. So he traveled a lot and all that. I remember I had this, I think, worry neighbor and all that. There was this girl, Onome. I was just, Onome, I better cry me with my zip. Things like that. It just makes you...
It can be really heartbreaking.
And you spend so much money. When you now get to the advanced bit where they now tell you, you go this, you go that. When you go for proper analysis and they tell you, oh, okay, no, you need assisted conception. IUI, even if it's injectable.
What's IUI? Because I don't know all this. At times in life when you are going through situations, you feel that you have the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Until you see somebody else. Now I know you've gone through some stuff, but I never knew in detail. So I'm beginning to think that I didn't really go through anything compared to what you went through for 8 years. But in that 8 years before your first child, was there any pregnancy miscarriages? Or you were not pregnant at all?
Then it wasn't diagnosed, so I was not pregnant at all. I was not pregnant at all. The only thing is, like I said, I used to have that heavy period, which I didn't know where it was. So I remembered my husband has an aunt who is an old midwife. God bless her soul. So on one of the occasions, Mama told me to come in, being an old midwife, she had to examine the cloth and stuff like that to see if it was residue from a pregnancy, and stuff like that. So, but I think then she must have been like 80 something. She died last year at about 90 something, but so we really couldn't tell, what it was and all that. But I had, them heavy cloth, and heavy bleeding and stuff like that. So, but sometimes the absence of period. You have tests, you have tests and all that. You're hoping, sometimes you have falls.
And I can imagine being religious, you go to church every day and they tell you, this month is your month.
Oh, yeah.
This month is your month of breakthrough.
Yeah.
This month is your month of a merited favor. This month is a month of fruitfulness. Then the month passes and goes, and it's not happening. It can be heartbreaking. I want to say thank you for everyone, to everyone watching. Mommy Sharon, Peace, Josephine, Benny, everyone watching us, thank you so much for watching. Uju, when I'm just trying to skip now, you finally got pregnant to your first child after 8 years. Wonderful. Let's pause that part. The part I want to know is your miscarriages, IVF, after your first child. How long did that take?
It took a while. It took a while again. Like I did say, I remembered in was it between 2012? Okay, I think I moved over to the UK in 2010. So in 2012, I did injectables. So now there are different ways.
What is
injectables is you use injections to get a woman to produce, to get her eggs to fertilize
Did
and
you do that at
ovulate.
home, or you had to go to the doctor?
You have to go to a doctor.
To do
You
the
don't just
injection.
you don't
All
even
right.
buy. You don't even buy.
Okay.
The doctor would check you and everything.
Mm.
It's like a cheaper way of doing IVF.
Okay.
They use the same injections that are made for IVF, but now it's more like natural cycle.
Okay.
So what they do is they give you dosages to take. Then while you're taking it, then they monitor you and give you fertile windows to meet your husband.
Wow.
Now, I did that injectables, and something happened between my 2 weeks, because it's almost like IVF. So after the waiting period, you're given 2 weeks before you can confirm. I mean, pregnancies are usually like that. So after your period, you have 2 weeks to confirm. So after doing that, I flew between my 2 weeks period, which, I didn't realize, but I got pregnant. And the UK system, you don't do, what's it called? You don't do scans up until like 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So now, because is a pregnancy that was, that was helped, was assisted, usually they give you something called progesterone. Progesterone is actually the hormone responsible for, more like keeping your baby there till about 16 weeks. So progesterone is the hormones your placenta would release. So I got on, that injectables. I got pregnant. But before I started using my progesterone, you start using the progesterone after you have confirmed. So now I did it. I confirmed I was pregnant and all that. I started taking injections. But my symptoms weren't right, but my tummy was just, getting bigger and all that. When I went for the scan, I got the biggest shock of my life. That the sac, placenta, everything was there, but there was no baby.
Wow.
So I always put it down to the flight. I mean, I know they say, oh, it doesn't work and all that, but I've seen, there's been repeated cases of women who have had to fly while pregnant, and the baby stopped growing.
Really?
So yeah, the air pressure.
Wow. I haven't heard that. I've not heard so many things today. And
Yeah.
I'm becoming too emotional. Let me just take some water.
Don't worry, try not to. So the air pressure of the airplane has a way of stifling air ventilation into the pregnancy, into the baby.
Is it the early stage of pregnancy?
In the early stage.
All
So
right.
that's between the first week and the 12th week. So usually what I tell people, I mean, when people come to me these days, I tell them, see, they will tell you, oh, research does not prove that. But do you want to be the guinea pig after spending all that?
Oh,
There's been 1, 2, 3 many cases that it's happened to. So I always tell people, try not to fly within that period. And even if you must fly, support your trip with progesterone. You can have it as a tablet. What the progesterone does is that it reinforces the placenta.
Oh.
So it keeps, it feeds the baby.
The baby.
Because when you just fly without that, it has a way of stifling. I know doctors will say, no. But you see, the truth of the matter is that it's when you experience something that you're able to. And if you Google it, you'd see where a lot of women have said that, after flying, they lost the pregnancy.
So you lost that pregnancy?
Yeah, I lost that pregnancy. I had to go
Wow.
to St. Mary's and they had to evacuate it.
How did you feel? 8 years,
Yeah.
then 2, 3 years again?
I felt devastated. I felt terrible. I felt horrible. I felt everything. But like I always say, I thank God I had very good supporting system. I had a lot of wonderful friends. That morning, when I needed to go to the hospital, a friend dropped me, Sister Neka,
Yeah.
there was Sister Glory. There was so many people, who knew I was pregnant at that time, and I had to go get it evacuated. There was nothing I could do. I couldn't leave it anymore, because if I did, it was going to start rotting, because at that point I had to stop the progesterone. So I had to do the evacuation, and I was back to base and square
Wow.
one.
Back to square one, but then with a little hope, because you already had a child. I don't know how many people are going through this at the moment. I don't know how many women have tried for years, and it looks as if there's no hope. I don't know how many have even come of age. Maybe they have their menopause now and they can't have children. I just want to encourage you this morning. please don't give up. And if you know that you can't have children anymore, find a solution to adopt a child. It's so, I don't know, I'm going to be this best, I don't know, but I will just continue anyway. This story is really heartbreaking for me. When you lost that child, I want you to tell the audience the other story, you know, of your pregnancy, the IVF, and everything that went wrong.
Okay, and before that one, I'd had an IVF cycle, you know, and all that. Yeah, I had a cycle. Yeah, and before that, injectables, but it was totally failed. You know, that's money down the drain. Usually, an IVF cycle will cost nothing less than 1.5 million
Naira.
in naira.
Wow.
1.5 million is like 300,000 to 400,000 naira. Sorry, in pounds. I mean,
3,000
pounds, a minimum.
pounds.
Of course, that's because you're talking about Nigeria. In the
Yeah.
UK, it doesn't cost anything less than £5,000, which was why I decided to travel to India. I had a cousin who, you know, who had her success rate, her success in India, so I had to go there and as well. The good thing about this is we know that Indians have very good doctors. So I got there. They take chances, you know. They put in as many embryos as possible. I do a lot of research. I read up a lot. So I realized that the more the embryos you have put in, the more your chances. So now, if you have just one embryo put in when you're doing your IVF, the embryo is when your egg and the sperm is been mixed, it becomes an embryo. So now, if they put in just one embryo for you, your chances are as little as maybe 15%.
Okay.
If they put two for you, you have like 25%. If they put in three, so, but in some countries like the UK is regulated.
Okay.
So usually, the older you get, the more the chances. But UK doesn't allow them to put more than 2 or 3 thereabout. But you know, in India, and because also being a foreigner, it's regulated for their people. But because you're a foreigner, you know, they leave you some leeway and all that. So now, it wasn't even that straight. You know, when I went for the IVF in India, I got there, and they said there was fibroid.
Wow.
So I had to start with a fibroid operation. So I had that fibroid operation.
This is what women go through. I just hope there are men watching to really see, you know, it's beyond get pregnant, give me a child. It's just beyond that. You can imagine the financial pressure, the emotional pressure. I didn't want to bring out a success story, but she won't just let us be. Anyway, that's what this show is about. It's a reality show. We are models anyway, so I just want the men to please, when your wife is going through this process, it's not the time to frustrate her. It's not the time to look down on her. That is the time that woman needs love. And I'm sure UJ was able to call because, like she said, she had a very supportive sister.
Yeah, I wasn't
her
working.
Husband, she wasn't working for years. Her husband was supporting. In-laws were there helping her out. You know, a lot of women have, you know, gone depressed because there's no support system.
I had depression in 2012.
So I was gonna be shocked if you didn't say that you were depressed.
I was depressed. God bless Sister Glory. You know Glory Oduliseme. Then I think I'd barely been in the country like a year, and so I barely knew people outside. You know, just the church, and even the church. I used to just come to church and go. Then she was like, you know, for some reasons, you know, she knew I just wasn't myself and all that, you know. And she was like, see, you have to go out. You know what she used to do? What she used to do then was, anytime there was a party, there was an event, there was anything, she would come pick me from church, drop me, you know. When there is a party, I became a Mugbamoya. She was like, whether you like it or not, you have to go.
Because
Mugbamoya is I heard and I just branched, you know, whether invited or not, you know. So she just made sure I tagged along, whether I wanted it or not. She was like, you've got no choice, you've got no excuse.
That's so wonderful.
You know, so what she would just do is, oh, I'm coming to, you know, usually she'll tell me ahead, oh, there's this event, you know, so I'm coming to pick you up. I don't want to know. I know you're not doing anything and all that, you know. And
which is good.
yeah, because it was mostly weekends
Yeah.
and all that, you know.
Just before we get to that support system, was Mr. Dewumi said, when are we having Wonderfully Made Men? Do you know there is Wonderfully Made Men? We actually have Wonderfully Made Men. So if you want to be part of that, I can give you all the information and you'll be able to meet the men in this organization who are helping. Please don't worry, I'll give you that information. Thank you everyone for watching. So when you had this IVF and you were pregnant for how many children?
Triplets.
Triplets.
So that's
the story.
That was like the third attempt.
Wow. In India?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God, I feel like hugging you right now. Oh.
The first one didn't go very well because my egg response wasn't good.
Okay.
So I think I produced just one egg.
Wow.
I should have just abandoned it, but I was desperate and I went ahead with it. It failed. The second one wasn't direct, because we'll still get to surrogacy, egg donors and stuff like that. So because of that egg response, I needed to do like a backup of donor and all that. I had to do like a donor egg backup and all that. And because we don't have the same physical features as Indians, I had to look for an African donor, which eventually I did use, but it was a backup.
Okay.
Then the third one, where I now had the triplets, my egg response was better. I had about 12 eggs,
wow,
of which 10 did well. Out of the 10, they transferred 4. 4 out of it became triplets. I was told to reduce, but I was too emotional to reduce.
You wanted to just have it all.
And that's why
I can understand. After waiting for 8 years, you had one that you
and
waited
she's
for
part of that
one.
batch. So she's actually a frozen embryo.
Yeah.
She's actually age
We'll
mate
come
with
to that. We'll come to that. So you had triplets. And the whole of Manchester rejoiced that Uju was going to get triplets. We were planning. Then something happened. Can you tell us how those triplets went back to sender? It's an emotional time. I'm also emotional. But we want people to hear. We're saying it's women's stories for change. Until you hear somebody's story, you cannot be encouraged. There are a lot of women who are depressed at home and they feel, oh, this is the end of it. But we have a woman here who is sharing her story, letting people know that there is always light at the end of the tunnel. So Uju, if you can, otherwise we'll have to skip that.
No, I'm fine. I'm
All
fine
right.
with it.
So I don't know if I can get a tissue, please. I need one. I need one. Yeah, I really need one. I didn't know you went through all that in India. I just knew, oh, here comes the pregnancy. Okay, when are we going to make the jollof rice? Then, so you had
ironically,
yeah.
it will be 2 years tomorrow.
Is it?
When I lost the last 2. Yes.
Wow.
So when I came back, just like I said, you're not advised to fly within the first 3 months of pregnancy. That's what they do in India. They tell you not to fly, so that the pregnancy is sitting well. Then there's this scan you do about the 12th week,
okay,
to certify that the baby is fine. I did that scan, everything was fine. Then because I was being too cautious, I put in something called the cerclage. Sometimes you hear people say stitch, they stitched the womb or something like that, the cervix. I wasn't careful enough then, infection. On the 19th of February, precisely 2016, in the morning I saw, like one of the mucus plug came off, was showing. I called the hospital and they were like, oh, they gave me all the negative. If you come, we've got no bed, blah, blah, blah. I wish I'd, made a move that day. But, I was being too careful. And I was like, with all those negatives, I might get there and they'll just send me back home. Yeah. But I didn't know that, the worst was going to happen. I think exactly like 12 hours later, I didn't know I already had an infection that was, affecting the babies. 12 hours later, one of my waters broke. And, I rushed off to the hospital, got there, and they were like, oh, the baby's head is showing, and we just have to take out the circlage and bring baby out. But we can't help baby. I've still got the videos, I've got the pictures, everything, and they're like, wow, you're just going to have to cuddle baby till baby dies.
Wow. And
I was like, oh, I pleaded with them, please. I said, she's too old. I don't know if it was a girl or boy. They're like, baby is too young to be helped. We can't, even if we decide to keep baby alive, baby is just going to have some permanent disability that we just can't do anything. All you can do for this baby is just cuddle the baby till the baby dies. I think for 3-4 days, even after the baby passed.
So when the baby came out, was it normal delivery?
Yeah. Because so that was about.
Came out and you held this baby.
I held the baby.
Knowing that this baby was going to die.
Yeah.
How did you feel?
Yeah. What else? I was just crying. I couldn't do anything, But they said you need to be strong for the other ones. So I tried to, I had to be strong, so that the other babies could live as well, So I was in the hospital for over a month. This happened on the 19th of February, 18th or 19th of February. St. Mary did everything, I was having blood drawn every 3 hours.
Wow.
From 3 hours, they made it 6 hours, they made it 12 hours, they made 24 hours, at some point 48 hours. I was in the hospital for over a month. I had stabs, I had everything, my vitals, my vitals were awkward, my heart rate was, panting and everything. But unfortunately, on the 17th of March, at some point they were like, oh, one of the other babies, the water was reducing. That infection, has probably gotten onto that baby, They advised me to induce. I refused. I said no. We were just trying to buy time to see if we could get to 24 weeks.
Okay.
So that it could bring out the babies. But eventually, on one of the days, usually in the mornings, they would not scan, they would get the fetal, the Doppler to just see if their heartbeats are still there. And, we didn't hear the galloping, the whooshy sound anymore. She was like, oh, just give me a minute, let me call the doctor. Before then, I'd been in severe pains. I think the night before, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't sit, I couldn't do anything. I was in severe pains. So I think my husband had to stay in the hospital till really late. Of course, remember there was also Tara to take care of and all that. I said, just go, I'll be fine, But at the end of the day, by morning, there was no heartbeat again. So I had to be induced, to deliver both of them, which I did. So I delivered the two who happened to be boys, and, I cried my heart out. That was one of the worst periods of my life. I was totally useless. I was, this is something you've wanted, you've prayed so much for, you've wanted so much of it, and you're carrying it, but you can't even have it fully, You're now talking about how to bury them, you're talking about funeral and all that, And you see, when the British people say, God bless the Queen, God save the Queen, honestly, God indeed saved the Queen. What I was thinking was, oh, if I was back home in Nigeria, having spent 1 month in the hospital, of course I would have had bills to pay. But, because I'd contributed towards my tax and NI and all that, being a resident and everything was handled. Even they were giving me choices of, burial, funeral. In short, it was then that we would just say, burial service and everything. It was there that I got to know, there was actually, that there's a funeral is actually the ceremony and all that. But the burial is when you actually dig the ground to put the person in. So when there is a funeral, there's option of burial and cremation. I didn't even, we just use these words, without knowing what exactly they are. So the funeral, so when they come around, they're like, oh, what's the funeral? What would you want babies to wear and stuff like that, Before then, I was always very paranoid about cremation. But because of how it all happened,
I was like, you know what? I'm not in the right state of mind to start burying or anything. You know what? I'll settle for cremation. And I've still got my babies in the room with me.
Oh, God. So when you say, oh, I don't want to go there. To be honest, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. And that period where, you know, all these things have happened, obviously you have taken your mind back to, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to have 4 children. Then you suddenly realize this is where I am now. At that stage, how did you cope? Let me use that word. How did you? I know you have a supportive husband, supportive friends, but I mean, in the night, these people are not there. And even if your husband is lying beside you, he's not there in your heart to think for you. So how did you cope at that time? Because I remember the time I came to see you, honestly, Uju, you didn't look good.
I didn't look good.
And everyone was scared. How did you cope through that journey to still have that hope that, okay, I'm still going to have more? Many people would have given up.
Yeah.
So how did you cope and how did you get to that level? I know we're almost running out of time, but I really want you to share your story because I know it's going to encourage so many people out there. At that stage, did you even believe this God you've been holding on to for years? I need us to be honest. I mean, things happen and we say, you know what, God, where are you?
Yeah.
This God you've been running after, all of a sudden, wasn't there.
No, I gave up on God. I totally gave up on God, you know. At that point, it didn't make sense going to church.
There was nothing anybody could tell you to.
There was nothing, you know. God bless her soul. Mama was there, you know, she came to church. You know, I had good supporting system. But, like you said, when I go back to sleep, you know, I wasn't just myself. I would cry my heart out. I would eat, you know. Before then, I was health conscious. I think that was where I started adding weight as well. I used to be very health conscious. But at that time, I didn't care.
So it was that level of depression, isn't it?
I didn't care. I didn't care at all. But the only thing that that kept me going was that there is a hope at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. Then, of course, I remember that I had I've still got embryos as well. Of course, yeah. Tara, my first daughter, is very supporting. You know, the thing is, she was also principal to why I went ahead, because by the time she turned 5, she felt lonely. Yeah. You know, every time, oh, mommy, I want a younger brother, I want a sister, I want a brother or a sister, you know. But she was there, she was supporting, she was everything, you know. At some point, she was like, oh, I don't want 3 anymore, you know. In short, because she had, even before it was confirmed it was triplets, she had given, you know, she had said she was going to have 3 brothers and stuff like that. The first one came out quite early, so we couldn't say if it was a boy, but the last 2 were boys, you know. So she had given them names and all that, you know. So we actually thought, oh, God knew everything and all that, you know. Even at some point, I blamed myself for putting that stitch and all that. But I'm like, God, you're God. You say you're God, you're all-knowing. Even if you're God, you could have still left them. You could have still prevented, you know, I could have, at least you have even left the other 2 for me. Do you understand? No matter my errors, you know, I was at that level, I was hopeless, I was everything.
Somebody said, oh, please, let's jump this phase and move forward to the pleasant part. It's becoming emotionally unbearable. Yes, but there are people who are going through this. I'm devastated right now. Honestly, I think I need to go somewhere to chill out after this show. But they're saying we should skip. So she became so emotional. Fast forward. Then this happened.
Yeah, so
what is Uju's success story?
I went back to India again.
Okay. So mommy did not. I'm sure you're happy now.
So I went back to India again, December 2016. I think I left precisely on the 10th. No, I left on the 9th of December. It was a very long trip. When I put him back my visa with the Indian embassy, it took, you know, I thought it was going to be 5 days, but it took 3 weeks. Yeah. And when it came out, you know, I had just 2 days because with IVF and all that, fertility, they work with your cycle. So I'd calculated, you know, usually they put you on some pill that, you know, helps you to calculate. So I'd calculated my period and stuff like that. So I had just about 2 more days or so, from usually from the second day of your period and the 5th day, they're able to do some tests, FHS, the follicle stimulating hormone and stuff like that. So as soon as my visa came out, I had just 2 days to book. I think the visa came out on Thursday and I left by Saturday. So when I looked at the whole thing, the price.
Fast forward. Like they're saying, I'm sure they're all crying. We don't want you to cry anymore. So then this happened.
Yeah, so I went back, went back to the hospital and all that. I had some frozen, I still had frozen from mine, not the donors yet. So yeah, that one, the doctor was like, no, we're not going to take chances with you again, the last time 4 became 3. This time around, we're not going to put more than 2.
Yeah.
And they put 2, the 2 stuck. But I don't know what happened. I remember that I took a certain juice which wasn't good for pregnancy. I didn't realize. I thought it was apple. But when God does something, God just does it, And it started as twins. So I was pregnant for twins up until the 7th week and 1 stopped. So we're hopeful, we're back to just being hopeful, praying and everything. And eventually, here we are with our success story.
So finally, let me just carry her. Mommy Dibelu. Yes, we needed people to know the story because at times when we just see the testimony, we don't know the test. So when people are so passionate about their children or about that thing they've been longing for, you don't know how long they have waited for that thing. And I just want to say, for those of us who are around people with similar issues, it's a time for you to love them, especially Christians. It's not a time for you to say, oh, you don't have faith. That's why you went for IVF. I've seen people who say that, really. Please, medical doctors, these things were made by God. If you could go to the GP for headache, if you go to the GP or you go to the hospital to get pregnant or to give birth, I don't see why you should not try other options. And for those women who are out there and you know that you can have a child, you can adopt. I actually have a friend who, yes, she gave up after some time. She adopted years ago and the girl is married with 2 children. So they call her grandma and she feels so fulfilled. Please, in life, when you are in this situation, look for an option. Adopt a child. There's so many children out there, no parents. And if you finally give birth, well, we thank God for that as well.
Even if you adopt,
yeah.
It's not enough for you to give up.
Yeah.
It's a better way of waiting.
Yeah. I'm just saying, for those who cannot, there are people who actually cannot.
Let me comment to that. Do you understand? Before you be totally written off, the thing, I speak highly of India. I know women who in their 50s.
You're advertising for India
No,
now.
not really, no. I know women who are 50 years old, who are 40-something. Wow. I have a friend who is 48. She might be watching. The other, she already had 2. I mean, then I was even like, relax, you don't bomb boy, you don't bunga. What are you looking for? But as we speak today, she has another daughter.
Wow.
And there were people who are older than her.
Wow.
There are options available. We know about just the normal adoption of, adopt a child from an orphanage. But you can adopt an embryo.
Okay.
Now, embryo adoption, they call it adoption because an embryo is considered a human being. But it's just that in the frozen form. You can adopt an embryo, but that happens where maybe the woman doesn't have good eggs and the husband's sperm is not good enough as well. Okay. So the best is embryo adoption. Like what I did with my donor embryo, my donor option is I've given it up for adoption as well. Okay. Because I'm not going to use them again. So if there are families, sometimes when you go through something, I realize that my situation was not even as bad as some. Some can't even produce the eggs I'm producing. Some don't even have sperm enough too. So what you do is, you give up those ones for adoption. So I have my embryos that are up for adoption. But because it's India where our features are different, so they have to match it with a black person. So, there is embryo adoption. Then also there's surrogacy. Surrogacy happens where the woman's womb cannot carry a baby. Yeah. So sometimes
we will come back to that topic. Okay. It's a topic on its own. But we're sharing our success story today. And this is Uju's success story.
Yeah.
Jasmine. She's forgotten all her sorrows now. Her name is Jasmine.
Chukwu Zaram, Chukwu Emelie, Priyanka, Aisha, Polarisho. Hey, what did Ame? She has a Benin name.
Really?
Ame, help me.
Amazing.
Is it amazing? No, Ame is actually amazing. No, she gave her. Oh gosh. Hey, Ame will kill you. She has names from almost all the cultures of the world. Anyway, you know what? Here is the success story.
The success story. I can remember when she had a baby. Everyone was rejoicing. There is always light at the end of the tunnel. There is always light. Never, never give up. As long as you are alive, there is hope for you. There is hope for you. So, Jasmine, amazing. So what do we call her now in Wonderfully Made Woman? Wonderfully Made. We have just 1 minute
Wonderfully
to go.
Made baby.
So we have a gift for you and your baby. The trustees of this organization, one of the trustees actually live, Benny, she insisted that we present you a gift. And because we came together, I couldn't put it in the package, so I'm just going to give it to you the way it is.
Oh.
Just to say thank you for coming,
Thank
and
you.
also for us at Wonderfully Made Woman. We are celebrating with you. Your success story is wonderful, and I hope that that story will bless a lot of people. So I'm just going to give you your little gifts today.
Oh.
We couldn't put them in any.
It's okay.
So this for your daughter.
Ooh, Zaza.
That's for your daughter. That's for your daughter. So we put it here. I didn't want to see, so I have to. And this for your daughter. And we
So
also.
she's holding on to it. She's not
decided
releasing
because
it.
that time you were depressed, you didn't used to do makeup. Now your makeup is so on point. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to leave this show today without getting you a cosmetic bag.
Ooh.
So waiting for everyone to fill it up. So these are gifts for you today.
Oh,
Thank you so much for coming.
you.
I just hope that this story
Thank you.
has really blessed you. Thank you everyone
Thank you.
for coming. Thank you, Doi. Mommy Sharon said, Jasmine shall live to fulfill purpose in Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen.
Oh, thank you so much, everyone who watched this show. If you want, please, you could share to encourage every other person. Next week is exactly 12 o'clock. I promised it was going to be 1 hour. We will be sharing another mind-blowing episode of My Success Story. What success story actually comes from cancer when you hear that word? Next week, Friday, same time. Make sure you stay tuned. Until same time next week, always remember that you're beautiful, you're unique, and most importantly, you are wonderfully made. Bye.
Yeah, I didn't know you were so emotional.
Let me carry her.
Make do with that face. Yeah, I sure there was I think last week, a friend of mine, came in box. She's just gotten married a year or two, and she was like, oh, so. So when she was asking questions about mine, I mean, I could open and say like, wow, you went through all this.
Went through it
And
all.
this is actually like a quarter of what I went through. Yeah, so next time we could look at.
Oh, they've given her another name, Glory. Glory, that's my namesake then.
Thank you.
And we use her as a point of contact to everyone
Yes.
looking out for a child. We hope that you will have a success story. Jasmine has come to stay. She's not going to die young. The mother is not going to die young. Her sibling is not going to die young. The dad is not going to die young. And because Jasmine is a success story, today, the 16th of March, I hope and I pray that your success story will come to pass. In 9 months' time, never lose hope. Stay blessed.
Mamma mia.